Carlos Santana has been traded from the Pittsburgh Pirates to the Milwaukee Brewers for Jhonny Severino. We're going to talk about it a little bit right now here on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, everybody, trade season is officially upon us. Welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team and only your Pittsburgh Pirates. My name is Ethan Smith, your host of this wonderful podcast, and we have some trade news, folks. Carlos Santana has been traded to the Milwaukee Brewers for 18-year-old shortstop Jhonny Severino. News was broken by Jason Mackey of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and confirmed by other multiple outlets, including Jeff Passan and Justice De Los Santos. Trade season has begun. And for the second year in a row, the Pittsburgh Pirates have made a deal with a team in the division. Of course, you guys remember last year they made the Jose Quintana trade with the St. Louis Cardinals to bring back Johan Oviedo and Malcolm Nunez. Now they make one with the Brewers. The Brewers, of course, without Rowdy Tellez at the moment. He has been dealing with injuries, so they have a need over at the first base position. Carlos Santana, been one of the better defensive first basemen of 2023 in the Major League Baseball season. And this deal, to me, comes as no surprise. I expected it to happen. Obviously, if circumstances were different, maybe you hold on to a guy like Santana and go for a division push. Obviously, that is not the case with the Pirates after their strong start, and they've become sellers. That is what we expected them to do. It's what I've kind of said, is that Carlos Santana, Ji-Man Choi, and Rich Hill would be their three options to trade realistically, with the possibility of getting a mega deal for somebody like Mitch Keller or David Bednar. I just don't see them trading either of those guys. This deal just makes sense. Carlos Santana was making good money. The Pirates signed him on a one-year deal in the offseason. And as soon as that deal was made, we kind of knew he was going to get traded at some point with the expectations that we had coming into 2023. But I would even say if they weren't where they are right now and they were a much better team, you probably hold on to them and buy. But this deal still makes sense. You want to get something for Carlos Santana. You want to make sure you at least get a lottery ticket that might cash in later down the line, and that's exactly what Jhonny Severino is. He's an 18-year-old who's only played in rookie ball. He was a part of the international free agency period in 2022, and that's really what you look for. Now, as far as for what the Pirates have now at first base, you're probably going to see a lot of Ji-Man Choi over there, unless he is on the move shortly too, which is a very big possibility, seeing as it's kind of the same scenario with an aging first baseman who could help a contending team on an expiring deal. And then you also have Connor Joe, who can more than play that position. He's more than capable to do it defensively. His bat has not been the worst this year. He's had his moments. As for Jhonny Severino, a guy that many people will probably get upset with this trade just because it doesn't really do anything immediately for this team, and it never was going to. But as I already mentioned, Jhonny Severino, he was the 21st ranked player in the 2022 international signing class. If you remember, Gregory Blanco was a part of that signing class, so that can add to it. He signed for $1.2 million. The Pirates actually scouted this guy pretty heavily in the international signing period, but it was one of those scenarios where he was never going to be able to come to Pittsburgh or be in the system based off of the money that they already had spent on some of their top guys. He's 6'1", 185, and in his career so far, he's played 48 games in 2022 in the DSL. He slashed 268, 333, 391, and 724 in 2022 with 3 home runs and 25 RBIs. And so far in 2023, a lot less sample size, 12 games, 48 at-bats, 250 average, 288 on base, 583 slugging, and an 871 OPS. with 4 home runs and 10 RBIs with 5 stolen bases. If you read most of the scouting reports on Severino, he's considered to have above average power from the right side, but has experience hitting from the left side as well. So he is actually considered a switch hitter, even though many scouts would say that he hits much better on the right side. So that's where we go in with that. And per Baseball America, he's a switch hitter who can have plus raw power from both sides of the plate with more advanced hitting ability from the right side. He has shown a solid approach for his age too, with the patience to draw walks and get himself into good counts. So this is, again, one of those guys you're not going to see for a while, but could turn into something down the line. This has nothing to do with him playing shortstop. I'm sure he'll probably find somewhere to play in the field. Being 6'1", pretty standard size, he'll be fine. You look at what else this trade does. Again, it gets you something back for what you were probably considering a rental in free agency anyway. And that's really what this was, is Carlos Santana came in to bring a veteran presence. He came in to fill a hole because the first base position for the Pittsburgh Pirates has been a mess the last 2 years. He filled that hole very well. He played very good defense at that position. He's going to help out Milwaukee a lot. Milwaukee needs offensive help heading into the postseason if they do, in fact, win the NL Central or somehow squeak into a wild card if Cincinnati catches them. I feel like this deal works for both sides, and I'm sure the Pirates aren't done. They're probably going to trade Rich Hill if there are calls on Rich Hill. Again, I've seen the rumors of Mitch Keller and David Bednar potentially being traded as well. I just don't put much substance into them because I just don't think that it's anything that the Pirates would really want to do with either of those guys, seeing as they're both under control for at least 2 or 3 more years. And you kind of feel like you're on the precipice at this point. And Carlos Santana, very lovable player, very likable guy. He was never in the future plans for this team. So this trade makes sense for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They bring back Jhonny Severino from the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, of course, that was Jason Mackey breaking this news. Thank you for tuning into the Locked On Pirates podcast. We'll talk about this more tomorrow in depth on Mailbag Friday. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully this was valuable information, and I'll see you on the flip side.